Ta-da!
People who know me know that I have a passion for hot air balloons. I just love hot air balloons. And this actually happened to me while I was working with Balloons by Terry down in Orlando. We were going to take off in a mass ascension. A mass ascension is nothing more than a lot of balloons taking off at the same time, and it's just an incredible, beautiful sight. And sometimes the balloons crash into one another. Now, if airplanes crashed into one another, that would be a really bad thing. But when balloons do it, they call it kissing, because the fabric just kind of melts in and then they separate out. It's really kind of neat. And anyway, we were set up in grids, and Terry was teaching me to fly a balloon called the Tequila Sunrise. It was a small two-man balloon, and next to us was a behemoth, a balloon called the Behemoth, and it was huge. I mean, the basket on the thing was like two semi-trailer truck trailers tied together, held like 120 people or more. Well, when the command was given to ascend, the Behemoth kissed the Tequila Sunrise, and the sheer mass of that balloon just pushed us over the tarmac where there was heat rising, creating kind of a thermal, and then the Behemoth was rising faster than we were, and I don't know all the technical jargon for it. I just don't know, but all of a sudden, whoosh, we were flying around inside this other balloon. Boy, I realized we was in trouble. I grabbed the crown line. Now, the crown line is just a rope that's tied to the top of the balloon to keep it, to help control the balloon while it's on the ground. Well, I tied it to my belt and then leaped over the side. Terry, in the meantime, poured the heat to it so that the Tequila Sunrise would rise to the top of the Behemoth, partially to get us closer to the vent so we could get out. And I, hand over hand, climbed to the top of the balloon. It being firm with heat, I was able to stand on the top and then hunt for the vent. Now, the vent's just a hole in a balloon that's replaced with fabric, either held in by Velcro or pressure, so that you can open it to let hot air out to descend. Well, I found the vent and ripped it open and stuck my head out. What I saw chilled my blood, it curdled it. The sky was no longer a beautiful shade of blue. It was black. Stars were so brilliant and bright. The moon looked like it was so close I could reach out and touch it. I could see the earth below us, the curvature just kind of falling away. The combined heat of those two balloons had taken us like to the stratosphere or something. I ripped that vent open, and the Tequila Sunrise shot out of there like a cork out of a bottle. I was dangling from the bottom of it, and I was seeing the Behemoth plummet toward the earth. Not so much because we was rising so fast, but because I just let all the hot air out of it. Well, I reached in my pocket and got my knife out and cut the rope, and then jackknifed into a 9.6 swan dive and dove like a ballistic missile toward toward the Behemoth. And just before I hit, I flared my shirt out, so, to give me some break. And I landed on the top of the balloon and then found their vent line and sealed it back up. And then I grabbed their crown line and rappelled down the side of their balloon and landed in the basket. Well, it didn't take me any time at all to realize what was happening. They just couldn't get any hot air into that balloon. So I did the only thing I knew to do. I turned my head up and I started telling stories. I told Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I told the Three Little Pigs. I told Woe. I told every story I could think of. And that thing began to fill up with hot air. And pretty soon, it was under control. Meanwhile, Terry had dropped down and thrown me a rope, and I tied to the upright of the the balloon, but first, before I tied it to the upright, which is, the upright's just a stick kind of that holds the basket to the balloon. It's kind of it's upright. That's why it's called upright. See, my knife has a hole in it. So I put the rope through that hole, and then I tied it to the upright, and then I jumped out of their balloon, Terry dropping lower to tighten the rope and be kind of down from it. I jumped out and I zip-lined right down to the basket of the Tequila Sunrise. When I dropped in, I twisted the knife, cutting the rope, and the behemoth floated onto a safe landing. Terry and I, heroes that we were, we went to Disney World. Well, there at Disney World in the lake, they have this big fountain. And the fountain, Terry taught me at that point how to land on the fountain and put enough hot air in the balloon that it looked like the fountain was holding the balloon up. It was impressive. You know, to this day, they will not allow a balloon to fly over Disney World. They say it detracts from the mouse. Anyway, then we went over to what is now Universal Studios theme park. But in those days, it was just a big field. We were going to land. And the way you land a balloon is you fly along and you let a little hot air out and drop down, fly along, let a little hot air out and fly along, like going downstairs. And when you get to your final approach, just before you're about to hit ground, you pour a lot of hot air into it so that it got rise or lift as you hit the ground so you don't have a hard landing. Well, remember now, I was just taking lessons. So I made getting ready to make my final approach. I cut off all the gas and all the flame and grabbed hold ready for the landing. Terry said, "Pour the heat to it, pour the heat to it." And I said, I already cut it off. And Terry swallowed really hard. Looked over the side of the balloon, looked over the side of the basket and said, "Well, we'll live." And we did.